Okay, this is going to be strictly audio, so don't expect any pictures or anything. Um, I'd like to start off with a story. Me and a relative never got along. No, let me rephrase that. Me and a relative always argued, and we were always talking over each other. And, um, well, I'll just say that there was a lot of communication issues, we'll put it that way. And I came up with the idea to buy a kitchen timer and get my relative to agree to 5 minutes of uninterrupted speaking on both sides. So I get 5 minutes and they get 5 minutes. This pretty much changed the way we communicated. And for once in our lives, which around that time was almost 30, well, I'll say there had been decades of arguing, but for once we were able to communicate using the timer as a type of referee in a way, or a medium to ensure that there would be fairness. And anyway, so I was able to enjoy quite a few back and forths. Then they started listening to Marvin Muhammad and taking on some of his attributes as far as, well, some of his attributes that I've seen as far as overconfidence, dismissive, interrupting, and this time, or the last time I whipped out a timer, I gave them, I believe, 7 minutes. So I gave them 2 more minutes past the 5 minutes, and they started interrupting me within, I believe, like around 2 or 3 minutes. So it was like constant interruptions. They couldn't exercise 5 minutes worth of discipline to let me speak uninterrupted. And I credit Marvin Muhammad for that. Also, this relative, in my opinion, I should say, might still be alive if it had not been for the influence of Marvin Muhammad, because I've got a lot of knowledge as far as health is concerned. And this relative stayed indoors too much, in my opinion. I was trying to get them to go out more, go for more walks. I told this relative that I had a dream that, they wouldn't be alive very long. And I told them that they needed to start fasting. I told them this maybe twice because I have prophetic dreams. When I dream, sometimes it's the exact future. The exact future, whether you believe in that or not. So, anyway, my relatives tried Well, they at least they told me they tried. To me, they didn't try um, very well, and sure enough, they died in 2024. So that's one big reason why I'm making this video. Also, I know that he's got a lot of other people's families afraid. He's got his students afraid to ask questions. They know to probably maybe just ask a question, maybe about what something may mean in the Bible, maybe, and that won't get them yelled at. But they know or feel like if they ask him something personal, or well, if they ask him something about him or ask him a question that seems like they're doubting him or something like that, that they may get yelled at, maybe name called or anything like that. So, that's why I commented so much and called as much as I did to show the people that I was not afraid and they didn't have to be afraid, and to show them that whatever his hell is, you can still handle your business. You can still communicate, put things together just like I put together these videos, somewhat sloppily, but it is what it is. Didn't cost me a lot of money at all or a lot of time. It's not a labor of love, so I can't wait to just be totally done with it because I've been trying to help out whoever is being influenced by him or affected negatively by him, and that's pretty much it. I Most people who are on the outside can see that he has a lot of bad qualities or a lot of bad behaviors. He's got some good behavior. I mean, he's got some. I'll put it this way: the good about him is, I feel like he does have a lot of knowledge. I feel like to some degree he was a man of God, or to some degree he is a man of God as far as maintaining certain righteous principles. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't even like that phrasing, man of God. Um, I'll say he's somebody who believes he's a man of God. He believes he's God. But it's really pretty sad. I never thought. I mean, this is mainly for his followers because I don't think anybody else knows who he is and cares who he is. But, I was personally affected by him because, he um, has influenced my family not to be able to. Yeah, well, anyway, I don't want to talk too much about this because, as far as I'm concerned, he really did a number on my family as far as their minds. People should be able to. I mean, one, he doesn't. Well, I wanted to explain the Marvin Muhammad compilation first. I'll express it a little bit. The main thing I wanted people to see is that he interrupts a lot. Starting with the first videos, he he believes all of his teachings come from the Bible or can be supported in the Bible, and he also has been offering $75,000 to anybody who can prove that he is wrong. So I sent him a text with certain Bible verses. I sent him mail with certain Bible verses, and I asked if I could um, get 5 minutes. Well, when he pretty much told me by text that he wanted to communicate only in class, or you know what, I'm a little yeah, this isn't something I want to talk about because it's to me it's very very sad in many ways. I feel like somebody who, I mean, the hell, if there's any type of hell or negativity, it's when I step into the realm of the new nation of Islam and Marvin Muhammad. That's when I don't feel so good because it's so negative and ignorant. I give you one example. I mean, he doesn't, I mean, one, he doesn't know how to communicate without constantly interrupting. If you look at my compilation, you'll notice that not only does he interrupt me multiple times, he also interrupts his own students when they read my questions. That's how much he interrupts. He yells too much. That's one. I'm a peaceful person. I can sit down and talk with. I've sat down and talked with people from all different types of backgrounds about so many different things, and we uh, had disagreements. But I never. I mean, rarely was there such negativity that I'm wanting them to go to hell or I want something bad to happen to them. This is the type of man he is, and this is the type of person that apparently some people are falling for. Not a lot, which is good. But and this man he's claiming to be God, and I mean, all right, I'll just read some things I put down, some questions, because I'm a little emotional on the subject. Because, like I said, if it wasn't for him, in my opinion, my relative would still be alive. Because my relative had a problem with staying in the house too much, not getting enough exercise, and my relative needed to fast. And it takes a lot of discipline to fast. And my relative didn't do it, and I believe he was a contributing factor because here's one explanation why he was a contributing factor, because we can only absorb so much information at one time. The same way, like, you can only do so much exercise in a 24-hour period. So if you have a 2 or 3 hour class that you just got through listening to, you're not going to be able to uh, listen as good as if you didn't have that class. Your brain or your mind has become somewhat fatigued. We can only do so much. So that's one reason why I blame him. Um, Two, he doesn't. Uh, you know what? I'll leave that alone. That's. I'll just say that's one of the biggest reasons. The time that you have to put in order to be one of his students. And I don't even like the phrasing student because you never get tested, and You can't talk to it. You can't talk to outsiders and test your knowledge or trade your knowledge. Go. You can't have back and forths with outsiders. That's how I got. I mean, that's how I got. You know what? I'm wondering. I'm thinking about the way I'm talking right now. I normally don't even speak in this manner. I'm trying to figure out why am I talking like this. Just my tone, my energy. I believe some of this has to do with, this man was considered a friend of my family's, not mine, but my family knew this man for who knows anywhere between 20 to 40 years. So a part of me, I guess, has that energy of respecting your elders and stuff like that. I guess that is a part of it. Maybe that's a part of why I'm talking like this, because I still have that part of me that likes to speak nicely and respect my elders and not say anything negative. And I'm not used to saying anything negative about any specific one, like one person. This is probably the first time I've ever posted anything negative about one person, about a specific person ever. I try to generalize. I like talking about general topics. So I guess that's why I'm talking a little bit different. So, but if you can tell, I'm getting a little bit better with my speaking. So let me push forward. Here are some questions that not only his followers should ask, but maybe other people should ask if they're involved in certain groups, or I don't care if it's a gang, a cult, or whatever. Um, what are your followers learning if they are not or cannot express their beliefs? How can they be sure they are learning if they can't test or practice out in the world? I guess I've said that already. Um, in so many fields, you have to test and practice just to be on the safe side that you are learning and you didn't delude yourself. You need to practice. You need to go up against some resistance. I don't care if you're in medical school and mechanics or whatever. You need to practice. If you're not talking to people of opposing views, or if you're not sharing your beliefs or able to discuss your views with people who disagree with you, then you're not practicing. You're not exercising your mind. And the sad thing is, he convinced adults not to be able to speak their mind. And I guess some of you probably had kids. So, I mean, probably have kids. You have children. And another man convinced you not to talk to nobody. In a world where you have people like Jim Jones and all that, you better ask a lot of questions and you better talk to people. So I don't believe that's a really good, healthy mindset. Okay, so here's a question right here. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos of ex-Satanists, Christians, Muslims, ex-atheists, and various others talking about their personal experiences with heaven, hell, angels, and demons. Do you believe all of them are delusional or lying? That question is because he seems to, when I've brought up on one or two occasions that people are giving testimonies about certain things related to the spiritual realm, his response has been that they were all lying. not even delusional, like, or maybe crazy. He said lying, that they're all liars, which means to deliberately tell a lie. That doesn't seem very fair. I'm curious about this one. I asked him this question years ago. No, I won't bring that up. But I'll say it since I started. I'll finish it. Do you? This is mainly one of my personal questions. Do you still believe the spirits the Bible refers to are only characteristics and not individual entities or energy beings? I gave him an example of Jesus casting out the spirits. Well, casting out, I guess, um, it's some story about demons being in people, and he casted the spirits out of them into some pigs and sent the pigs over into like the ocean or something like that. I know I'm probably paraphrasing horribly, but I think if you're familiar with the Bible, you know what I'm talking about. His response to that was it wasn't talking about spirits or demons, it was talking about characteristics. So it wasn't any real spirits that the Bible was talking about. Like none of that pretty much happened in a way. Like there was, that's what he believes, or that's what he believed at the time. Most, I think a lot of people would disagree with that. Anyway, let me see if I have any more questions. The biggest question I pretty much already posed, which is how can your followers test their knowledge if they're not out here talking to people, debating with people, discussing their beliefs like other people do with their religions? That's a good way to be conned, in my opinion. Anyway, uh, here's a statement. I feel like the time spent listening to him could be time spent on working on one's specific personal weaknesses. I counted up the hours somebody would have spent listening to this man. If they've been listening to him for, let's say, 5 years, they've been listening to him almost like 3,000 hours. So I'm thinking, I mean, do you have money problems? If you have money problems, you could have spent some of those hours learning how to make money. If you got weight issues, you could have spent some of those hours exercising. If you got social issues, you could have spent some of those hours learning how to socialize better. So I mean, 3,000 hours. I believe that's around the time. About 3,000 hours in 5 years you would have spent listening to this man. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong. Somewhere between 2,500 to 3,000 hours. So that's long enough to learn a trade. Anyway, another question. Okay, what kind of person threatens people with hell for heated disagreements? As someone who has made many discussions and debates, well, as a person who has had many discussions and debates and watched many discussions and debates, threatening someone with any form of harm for disagreeing with you is usually seen as uncivilized and inappropriate. This behavior to me is ungodly. Is this behavior godly to you? I don't think I have any more questions. Like I said, this is not a labor of love. Oh, here's a really good one. Have there ever been any false or poor teachers? I mean, me start over. Have there ever been false or poor leaders? If so, shouldn't we ask questions, discuss, and debate with leaders? Are followers partially to blame for not questioning their leaders and thinking for themselves? So, that question is in response to a statement. He's made a couple of statements that you can even hear that I posted where he says that I'm testing him and I shouldn't, and you shouldn't test someone who is smarter than you. For I mean, that to me doesn't sound smart. How are you going to know what they know unless you ask them questions, which he calls testing? I spent. Oh, okay. I just remembered something. I don't think I'm going to. I don't think it's probably healthy to focus on negatives, and I've been focusing a lot on this man's. Well, I think I've been focusing a lot on negatives instead of positives. So I'll tell a positive story. I spent some time with a man who was known as a prophet by some, and he referred to himself as a prophet. I didn't know if he was a prophet or not. All I know is he said he was a prophet. But me and him used to sometimes walk and talk or sit and talk. I always question him about God and his beliefs and certain. I mean, I asked this man a lot of questions. Not one time when I had doubt. I mean, because I always had doubt about if he was a prophet or not, or if he spoke to God. He said he spoke to God. I had my doubts. I'm a very skeptical person, and to some degree, you should be a skeptical person in this world because a lot of people believe in things that are not right. But this man never yelled at me or name called, and I never yelled or name called him. He recognized that this person is trying to get information. This person has doubts, and he's asking questions to try to test me or see what it is I know. So I believe he was a prophet now, based on the way he behaved. Also, um, God spoke to me and told me to do the same things or some of the same things that he told this man to do, based on what this man told me. So that's why I believe the man was a prophet, because God spoke to me. So I might be like the last help for any of you students or people who are connected to um, this man, because I'm not going to spend too much time talking about him because I feel like he's extremely negative. He always overtalks. He he may have been a man of God once, as far as like what I mean by that is he may have been communicating. I believe I believe to some degree he did tap into God, or he did learn things that were godly, but I believe he let his ego get the best of him. So he, to some degree, is kind of like a spiritual confidence man. I'll express it this way. I need to express that. We'll explain that. He's not a confidence man, or he's not a spiritual confidence man because he is deliberately trying to mislead people. I don't believe he's trying to deliberately mislead people. I'll say it again. I don't believe he's deliberately trying to mislead people. I'll say it one more time because I know people don't listen. I don't believe he is deliberately and intentionally trying to mislead people. But he has misled himself. And because he has misled himself or conned himself, that energy, that confidence spreads to others. That's what I mean when I say he's like a spiritual confidence man. A lot of people just believe him even though they don't even understand. I mean, anyway, I don't want to talk too much about this because I was very disappointed that the members of my family started following this man because to me it was so obvious that something was wrong with him. And I feel like there's something deeply, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but I feel like if you believe that this man is God, I mean, it means that you believe that this man is overall right in what he says and does. And you probably have some of his attributes. So if you talk to I'm gonna tell you right now, if you talk to your family members like this man talks to people, you're gonna have problems. If you talk to your kids like this man talks to people, you're gonna have problems. So I guess I've said enough. I don't want to. Again, I don't like speaking off the top of my head, and again, I don't. I've never had to. Oh yeah, and I want my $75,000. If any of his students are listening, let him know I want my $75,000. I sent him a letter saying that I would accept $15,000 within 15 days. And if I didn't get my $15,000 within 15 days, I would want, I want, then I'm going to want the $75,000. So I still want my $75,000. That's probably why he's dodging me or why he's not accepting my comments. So if I comment, no one will read my comments as if I'm invisible on the platform. So I left evidence that he doesn't want to talk to me, but he also doesn't want to address. Here's the you know what? Here's the last thing I'll say. I left the material. I left my proof. One of the first videos I left. That should be the main or one of the main focal points. If you really just want to save time, all of his students should want him to explain those verses that I took the time and energy to put together. Well, not put together, but I took the time and energy to look for and compile. So if you call yourself a student or a follower and you haven't looked at the verses I left and why I left the verses, well, let me say that differently. If you haven't looked at the verses that I left, I don't feel like you're a real truth seeker at all. And I feel like more than likely you're just following him because he has a whole lot of confidence You're not following him because he is making so much sense. You're following him because he has so much confidence. So there's a price for that. All right. Um, Again, I probably won't be making too many more videos like this because I don't like dealing with this group or this man. The only reason why I am I've taken the time that I have is because I feel like this man is causing he's probably caused a lot of damage in people's lives, created a lot of problems in people's families, a lot of division. People are probably talking to their relatives, trying to convince them that this man is not God. And then this man went ahead and said to them, don't even talk to him. So now people in the same house, but they can't, or they may be in the same house and they can't even talk about their beliefs and or the time that they could spend talking about um, family affairs. Uh, they're spent those hours are spent listening to him. So, like I said, I feel like my relative is dead, and they could have been alive if it was not for this man. So, that's why I made this video or made this audio. I made the other audios because I'm tired of his mouth and I'm tired of him saying that nobody's trying to challenge him. He says it almost seems like every time I listen to one of his classes, he always says that nobody comes in there to challenge him. But every time I come in there, he doesn't want me to talk. So he won't give me my 5 minutes uninterrupted. That's all I need. See, that's how you know when somebody maybe knows something. I don't need 2 hours a day. I just need 5 minutes. That's all I asked for was 5 minutes of talking uninterrupted, and he couldn't give that. So I've said enough. I hope you people who are following him wise up.